The failure never announces itself with a dramatic sound. It begins silently, invisibly, inside logistics systems that most people never think about. A shipment delayed by 6 hours. A warehouse running at 92% capacity instead of 70%. A single port operating at reduced crane efficiency. These are not headlines, but they are early fractures in a structure that depends entirely on uninterrupted motion. Modern food supply chains are not storage systems. They are velocity systems. The moment velocity drops below a critical threshold, availability begins to collapse. Not gradually, but in compounding waves that move faster than public awareness can react. At the core of this vulnerability is a principle most households misunderstand: the difference between inventory and throughput. Supermarkets appear full, giving the illusion of abundance, but the average urban grocery store carries only 3 to 5 days of food at normal consumption rates. This is not negligence, it is optimization. Warehouses and retailers operate on just-in-time logistics, a system engineered to minimize storage costs and maximize efficiency. Food is constantly moving from producers to distribution centers to shelves, synchronized through predictive algorithms that assume stable conditions. When those assumptions fail, the system does not slow down smoothly, it destabilizes. The common belief is that shortages occur when food physically runs out. In reality, shortages occur when distribution timing fails. Food can exist in sufficient quantities at the national level while still becoming inaccessible locally. This mismatch is not intuitive. It is driven by the physics of transport networks, the economics of fuel availability, and the fragility of synchronized scheduling. A disruption at a single node, a trucking hub, a fuel refinery, a major highway corridor can create cascading delays that amplify as they move downstream. Each delay forces recalculations, rerouting, and rescheduling, which increases system friction until throughput collapses. Hidden within this system is a critical concept known as buffer depletion. Buffers are small reserves built into supply chains to absorb minor disruptions. In modern systems, these buffers are deliberately minimal. When demand spikes even slightly, whether due to panic buying, weather events, or localized outages, buffers are consumed almost instantly. Once depleted, the system transitions from stable flow to reactive scrambling. At this stage, recovery becomes exponentially more difficult because every component is now operating under stress simultaneously. Historical data reinforces this pattern. During documented supply disruptions, such as regional natural disasters or transport strikes, food availability does not decline linearly. It drops sharply after a short delay, often within 48 to 72 hours. This delay creates a false sense of security. Shelves remain stocked just long enough for most people to underestimate the severity of the situation. By the time visible shortages appear, the underlying system has already entered a degraded state that cannot be quickly reversed. This leads to one of the most dangerous misconceptions in survival planning: the idea that reacting to visible scarcity is sufficient. In reality, waiting for empty shelves guarantees disadvantage. By the time scarcity becomes obvious, supply chain recovery is no longer a matter of restocking. It becomes a competition for limited distribution capacity. Retailers prioritize high-demand items, logistics networks prioritize high-volume routes, and individuals compete within a narrowing window of access. The science behind effective food stockpiling is not about hoarding large quantities randomly. It is about understanding caloric density, shelf stability, nutrient preservation, and resource efficiency under constrained conditions. Most people focus on volume, how much space food occupies, rather than energy yield per unit mass. This is a critical error. In a disruption scenario, storage space, transport capability, and environmental stability become limiting factors. Foods that maximize calories while minimizing volume and spoilage risk are fundamentally more resilient. For example, dry staples such as grains and legumes have a significantly higher caloric density per unit of storage space compared to fresh or refrigerated items. Their low moisture content reduces microbial growth, extending shelf life without reliance on energy-dependent preservation systems. This is not a preference, it is a thermodynamic advantage. Water activity, a key factor in food spoilage, is dramatically lower in these foods, slowing enzymatic and bacterial processes that cause degradation. Another overlooked principle is metabolic adaptability. The human body can maintain function on simplified diets for extended periods if caloric and essential nutrient thresholds are met. This means that survival stockpiles do not need to replicate normal dietary worry.